Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Hardwood podcast with your boy, C.O. Anthony, and my main man, Bryce Ward. Bryce, what is up?
Uh, Not much. Had a little break. I'm glad to be back.
Absolutely. And as always, we got some shit to get into. Um, the first thing I want to talk about, though, is this Joel Embiid slash Philadelphia 76ers situation with them officially shutting Embiid down for the remainder of the season. I mean, their season was trashed and washed anyway. They were by NBA Finals pick for the Eastern Conference, so I gotta swallow that one. But what are your thoughts on since Embiid has won that MVP? He's played like 40 to 50 games since then. Like, how do you feel about that?
Um, it just is. I'd call it bad timing. Um, I saw something last night that hinted or suggested that apparently Embiid and the Sixers aren't really on the same page when it comes to his injury rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I read something that said Embiid feels like he pretty much needs to shut it down and completely heal. And Philly kind of wants him to do treatments and continue to play on it, basically. And I kind of get the frustrations on both sides. You definitely have to take care of yourself and, you know, feel like you're 100% to go out there and play. But at the same time, um, optics are a thing. What other people think in this business, at least, it is a thing. And so, like I said, I get both sides. To be honest, it kind of feels like he's holding the Philly organization like hostage. Not necessarily maybe always on purpose, but we all deal with things in different ways and we all have our own ideas of how things should go. And when you don't see eye to eye, um, and you're one of the only people, I guess, that thinks you should sit out completely, then it's tough to face everybody. If everybody else thinks you should go out and play, the fans think you should play or are tired of you not playing. The organization is as well, and your team's having one of the worst seasons since you've been there. Um, if this was a one-time thing, I would understand. You, I would understand the frustration a little bit better, but this is an ongoing trend with Embiid. He barely put together one full season to finally win MVP. We're not talking about his talent or what he's capable of when he's fully healthy. We've seen what Embiid can do, but he's hardly ever completely healthy. Some of this is on Philly for going ahead and giving him a big contract this last extension or re-signing, knowing his injury problems. Like I said, we don't know to the extent. Nobody can know what this feels like unless you're Embiid going through it day to day. And so I get where he has to try to protect himself, and I know the team has an angle where they have to have a winning product on the court. They're paying a lot of money for
Yeah.
a terrible season.
Right.
Uh, the Paul George signing is looking like one of the worst signings in a long, long time. So some of this definitely goes on the the front office for making these signings, but um, I think eventually we're going to see a situation like the Luka Doncic trade. I don't know when, but I feel like the situation is definitely souring in Philly between fans and ownership and Embiid. So I don't know. I don't know when, but I have it in my gut that I think Embiid, they move on from him. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know when, but I think both the team and Embiid could use a fresh start someplace else, and maybe a different front office and different medical staff could do Embiid some good too. So who knows? I wouldn't expect him to be back, but I know Philly has pressured him, I think, to come back. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I think that situation is soured, and I don't know if they really come back from this long term.
Well, no one knows the injury better than the player knows. You know what I'm saying? So if he feels like he can't play, I don't care what the doctors say. He shouldn't be out there trying to play. And I will say he played in the off season, played during the Olympics, helped us win another gold medal, and he looked great. But I just don't understand why they can't get that knee under control. I don't, because he's missed so much time in the last 2.5 seasons. I don't get it. And like you said, the amount of payroll that Philly is spending right now between him, George, and Maxey is ridiculous. Now, Philly did win the game last night. They beat Golden State last night, but that's their first win in the last 10 games. They've been absolutely trash. If I'm
Paul
Philly,
George had to quit podcasting just to win that game.
Look, if I'm Philly, I'm shutting down Paul George as well, and I'm limiting Maxey's minute. Maxey still has to play, but he's not going to be playing 40 minutes a game, 48 minutes a game, whatever it is. I'm limiting his minutes. We're just going to take a wash for this season and then prepare for next season. If I'm Philly, that's how I would, go about it. But yeah, that's the most horrible NBA Finals pick I think I've ever made.
Do you think Philly doubts Embiid's commitment to just being or having the right mindset to want to be on the court? Because Embiid started, from what I remember, Embiid started playing basketball later than a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
In a story, was it Kansas or Duke that he went to?
Kansas.
I thought I remember hearing that the issue with him was a motor issue, was a mental kind of mindset issue. I don't know if I'm honest. I don't know, and I don't. It's not like I'm watching every Phillies game and I'm watching every press conference after every Phillies game, but I've never really gotten the feeling from Embiid that he's like really super passionate about this game, if that makes sense. And that's from the limited time I've seen him. I wonder if at this point, with everything they've been through, the Philly trust the process, if they're kind of over it and maybe over what seems to be a nonchalant attitude from Embiid almost all the time. And like I said, I don't know if that's really what it's like all the time. I'm not spending time with them, but I've always kind of gotten that feeling, if that makes sense. And it's been a kind of ongoing story with him almost since even with college. So I just wonder if this is just who he is, and that should go into what he gets paid and how often he's on the court. Like, all these things are elements of how you look at a player. And I wonder if at this point Philly is just kind of getting fed up with it, because I think I would be if that was the impression I've had of him since he even came into the league. It's not as short-sighted as the Luka decision, I would say. I mean, but at this point, I would really start to question, I guess, how much heart or how much motor and how much interest Embiid has in trying to play. There's a lot of guys you can't keep off the court, and I'm not saying that's always good from an injury standpoint, but when it's always happening and the team has a different idea of what it is that you should be doing, maybe it's not all just Embiid being careful. Maybe some of it is something else that the team's just kind of getting over at this point. I don't know, but it seems weird.
Well, we've seen two situations this season where teams are kind of pushing back against all-star caliber players, right? So we saw First, the Miami situation with Jimmy Butler, where Jimmy wanted to go to Phoenix. Jimmy didn't end up in Phoenix. Then you had the situation with Dallas, which still someone 10 years from now is going to write a book on the Dallas situation, okay? Because it still baffles everyone, like absolutely
It ain't gonna take 10
everyone.
years, bro. It ain't gonna take 10 years.
So,
They'll have that documentary out in 6 months.
It'll be on Tubi in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if Philly necessarily has the balls to move on from Joel Embiid or give him an ultimatum. Either you take it serious or you get the fuck out of here. I don't know if Philly has that like Dallas did with Luka, which I still disagree with that, or kind of like how Miami dealt with Jimmy. I don't think Philly has it in them. I just don't. And which is advantage Embiid. So he still can bullshit through seasons and still get paid max money.
Mm-hmm.
Now the fans have slightly turned on him a little bit. That started actually, I believe, a little bit last year. That he caught some heat beginning of this year. But as far as the front office, nah, I don't see that happening at all. I think he's going to be there, man. Unless he decides to leave, I think he's going to be there because I don't think that front office brass has the balls to move him. I just don't think so. But they need to. They need to blow it up. Paul George is just getting a check, playing every other night. The only kid that gives a shit is Maxey. And you don't want to waste his talent. You know what I'm saying? Just blow it up. Just blow it up. So, moving right along, I do want to ask you this because, again, I haven't been plugged in the last 3 weeks. Your Orlando Magic are 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're the number 8 seed in the Eastern Conference. What's going on? I know you were at a game recently, but I'm not going to count that one against you.
That was the roughest one of the season. I should have went to the one the next night. At least it was entertaining.
What's going on?
People have been telling us they don't want us to talk about Orlando, so let's just go ahead and no. It really feels like a chemistry and an energy type thing, and yeah, through Magic Twitter and a mutual friend of ours, Cortez. There's a lot of back and forth online, of course, between people, and I had a brief exchange with Cortez the other night about it, and the Jalen Suggs injury, which we just found out, is worse than what they originally thought. It's not just a quad contusion. He has an issue in his knee, and they're trying to figure out treatment for that, whether or not he will have to have surgery or if it could just, with time off of it, can heal. But I think what the team is finding out is that their elite level defense can, of course, keep them in games, but their record-setting low offensive numbers are really bad. And part of the issue is the injuries we've dealt with. Our 4 best scorers coming into from the start of the season all missed at least like 20-some games so far. Jalen Suggs is still missing games, and our spark off the bench, as funny as it sounds to non-Magic fans, losing Mo Wagner to an ACL tear really hurt our bench. For a team that has to have Cole Anthony to start because we don't have another point guard to play, leaving our bench unit to a bunch of young guys who aren't as consistent, Mo Wagner was really important to that. And our bench was important to the team. So you got that. You lost Paolo for 2 months. You almost lost Franz for 2 months. And since those guys have come back, Franz really doesn't seem like it took him as long to get back to, I guess, where he feels comfortable on the court. Paolo was noticeably working his way back longer, not wanting to take as much contact, not wanting to get downhill as much. It just, you could tell Paolo was off. And in the last few games, some of that feels like it's been turning a corner. So even with the time that Paolo's been back, until recently, he didn't quite look like himself. Not the same energy. No Suggs, which is a high energy guy. He's one of our glue guys, and I brought this up to Cortez. You lost. It seems like small potatoes, but I think it's really having an effect on the team right now with everything that's happened. You lost Markel Fultz. You lost Joe Ingles. You've lost Jalen Suggs, and you've lost Mo Wagner. A lot of those were your glue and chemistry guys. Paolo and Franz have talked about trying to speak up more and trying to play their style in a way that leads the team to follow them. But like I said, without Paolo being himself until just recently, there hasn't been enough of that to really go around. And so when shots don't fall for the Magic, like they tend not to, the team has a hard time right now digging themselves out of these slumps because I think they don't have the right players on the floor for that kind of thing. Not that Paolo and Franz can't go score, but when the heads are held low, when the energy is off, it doesn't matter if you can make shots, that nobody wants to take shots. So I think this is an issue that we didn't expect to run into because it hasn't been an issue with this Magic team before. But I really think the timing of the injuries, the way they've been spread out, and then a couple times they were together. Like at some points we were out without Paolo and Franz. Sometimes we were out without Paolo, Franz, and then Suggs eventually, and then we lost Mo, shortly. I think after Paolo, because Franz was still playing. I think no, maybe not. I can't remember now. There's been so many injuries.
Right.
So even when Paolo and Franz came back, Suggs was out. The team has to essentially learn how to play again together. Suggs was taking on a lot of the ball handling duties to kind of get it out of Paolo and Franz's hands to give them some other opportunities to get the balls in different positions instead of bringing it up the court. And I just think it's been one thing after another that's thrown off the chemistry of this team. And I think they're searching for the right guy on the court to sometimes kind of give them a punch in the arm. And all the guys that they've had to traditionally do that or to hold the team together, they don't have right now. And if they do have them, they're hurt. And the other guys they're leaning on are young guys, year one or two guys that aren't as consistent yet. They're still developing. So besides Paolo and Franz, everybody else on the team is so inconsistent that they're having a really hard time winning games right now. And to be honest, with this new update from Jalen Suggs, I don't really expect the team to be right compared to how we saw them at the beginning of the season. I don't think we're going to see that this year at all. I don't think we're going to see this Magic team look the way we thought they were going to look until next offseason, where I think they'll have a mix-up of some players anyways. So the bright spot has been, since Cole Anthony has been starting and getting consistent time, he still does some goofy stuff out there, but he has been better. He's been a lot better, but everybody else in the team is so inconsistent, and some nights the energy until recently has been off. It does really look like the team's turning a bit of a corner, but they're not going to be able to make up enough ground. They're going to be in the play-in. And with how they're playing right now, it's a real 50-50 shot on whether or not they win that game. So it's been a disappointing season. Most of it, I would say 85% of it is injury. And you can't really argue with that. There's been a lot of that this season around the league, as we know. But the vibes feel a little off. And I don't think it's necessarily much to do with the coaching. I think that's pretty much the same. I think there's been some frustrations in the locker room about not making any kind of even small move to help the offense a little. The KCP signing looks to be not what they were hoping it would be because he's shooting a career low from 3. And like I said, I think part of that is the system and the way the players are used to playing in Orlando. Some of that is on the coaching staff. You know, if you have a guy like Kenny come in, you want to try to get him some shots. It's
Or
just
maybe his value was maybe his value was overrated and overstated to begin with, though. Maybe he is what he is.
But and to his defense, some of that is he has been a good defensive. I mean, part of the reason we brought him in was defense, and he has delivered on that.
Yeah.
I think the offense in Orlando obviously is nowhere near what he was used to coming from, and I think that's been a bit of a shakeup too. So I think there's a lot of
looks he used to get.
But you know, if you look at the I'm not always an analytics guy. I don't go deep diving. I just notice when people point out things. The Magic get open shots. Technically, we get open shots. We have a hard time knocking them down. So it's been a rough season. A lot of injuries. I don't know what to expect for the end of the season. I know how I felt about the team and how the vibes definitely fell off. So we'll see what happens. They're a young team. I try to constantly remind people. If you thought it's like, or Magic fans don't expect them to win a championship, but when they don't win games, they act like, oh, now all of a sudden we're out of whatever our hopes were for the season, and it's not. These are learning seasons. It sucks that you're not in the ranking that you want, that you're not a top 4 team, that you're not going to have a home court advantage in the playoffs, but you're not going to the finals anyway. So whatever lesson these young guys can learn, the better it is, because no one wins when they're young. Not this young. So
I disagree with that. Look at OKC. I disagree with that.
What championships they have?
No, but I'm just saying you can still be a young team.
But that's what I'm talking about. What did OKC do in the playoffs last season? Who'd they get bounced by?
I would believe that the Magic fans would rather have OKC's record than your current record right now. Even as a Heat fan, I would rather have OKC's record than Miami Heat right now. So I don't subscribe.
But look at OKC. They what? Chet Holmgren went out.
Yeah, they're still number 1 in the West.
They kept. Yeah. How old's SGA though? How old's SGA?
He's great. How old is he?
Yeah,
he's not like 26.
Yeah, he's not 23. Yeah, he's been in the league 6-7 years. Come on.
Let's see.
Their leader and their best player, one of the best players in the league, 26. Same age as Jason Tatum?
Or about the same age? Last year.
Yeah, 26. Not 20.
And Luka was in the finals at 25.
Yeah. Paolo's 22.
I'm not ripping Paolo. I'm just saying
but I'm saying when your best player, it comes out for 2 months. When your second best player comes out for a month and a half, and your third best player on the team has missed over 20 games now, and your best bench scorer is out with an ACL tear, where do you get your offense when you're built to be a defensive team and everybody on your team is young? I'm just saying injuries, age, all these things play into what has happened to the Magic this season. And so there's a lot of excuses for that. So what I'm saying is, instead of coming down and trying to fire medical staff, instead of trying to fire a GM, instead of trying to fire a GM or fire a coach, there's real reasons as to why we're having this season. And when your 2 best stars are 22 and 23, I think we should give them a little grace. That's all.
They're talking about firing the medical staff.
Dude, the other day, I had to get on there and say to someone, if you want to make these short-sighted decisions, just go bring Rob Hennigan back, because that's the team you want. You want to make decisions based on how you feel on a game-to-game basis. You can't build success that way. You can't build long-term success that way. You'll be in the bottom of the barrel next year if you start making reactionary trades where you trade young guys for immediate success in the current season. No, that's dumb. That's what Hennigan did, and we saw what that got us. So People need to be patient. People need to not be on a constant roller coaster every game, and people need to take into the context of what happened this season. So, yes, it's been rough. It's not been what Magic fans expected, but of course, with our guys being so young, these are learning seasons, and this season's no different. Despite having success last year and having high hopes for this season, we weren't winning a championship, so might as well learn something.
Guess where Hennigan's at right now?
Don't know, don't care. Brooklyn, maybe.
OKC, assistant general manager.
I'm sure he's fine as an assistant. He just don't need to be making decisions. Look, when you trade Sabonis and Oladipo for Ibaka, I don't ever want to talk to you ever again. I'm sorry.
Really quick. To OKC, by the way. Really quick. I just want to pivot to Miami because we haven't recorded since, Jimmy was traded and all the shenanigans and shit like that. Excuse me. This is what I'll say really quick about the Heat. They're doing the same things they've done all season. They're doing the same things they've done the last 2 to 3 seasons. What's missing is now we don't have our closer in the fourth quarter, and that's where we're losing these games. So we're in every game up until the fourth quarter, and then everyone bitches out, nuts up, and act like they can't shoot. So are we going to win a championship this year? No. That window is closed. Are we going to be competitive as hell this year? As always, yes, we are. They're still adjusting to having Andrew Wiggins in the lineup, a new guy, a new guard, defensive guard from Toronto. But I think right now, the play-in was the day you guys have come to Miami and play us. You've only won one game in Miami the last 5 years, which was actually this season. So I still don't want that matchup. You got to understand, I don't want no parts of the Orlando Magic ever in the playoffs, okay? But I think Miami's going to be in the top 6. And here's why. I think at some point the Detroit Pistons are going to nut up, okay? And I messaged Mike yesterday because there's this funny video.
I disagree with that part. I did think that earlier in the season, but now I don't.
No, I think Detroit's going to fuck up. And here's why. This is where I think, see, with the Magic, your core has been together for about 3 years now. Detroit's core has been together a couple of years, but they still have a first-year head coach and bigger staff. First year with them. Mm-hmm. I think Miami's going to catch them. But I texted Mike yesterday because I saw this funny video of the kids on the Pistons dancing and shit before. I'm like, this is what y'all do right now? Mm-hmm. And he was like, don't fuck with me because our record's good right now. Mm-hmm.
It's been a while. Let them have their fun. I mean, Cade's playing as good as everybody's always thought he could. So
Cade's been phenomenal. He's been healthy, and he's been healthy this year.
Yeah.
But I want to say this between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Detroit Pistons. One, Cleveland's not going to the finals this year. 2, I still don't believe they should have fired Bickerstaff last year. You don't fire a head coach who's won more games year over year when he's there. You don't do it. So I still disagree with them firing Bickerstaff. With that said, Kenny Atkinson is a damn good head coach. He was a great head coach in Brooklyn. He helped turn them around. Kevin Durant gets there. They fired him. Brooklyn's been off the rails since. Bickerstaff, who shouldn't have been fired in the first place, goes to Detroit, who hasn't been relevant in years. They even paid Monty Williams the highest coaching contract ever in the NBA 2 years ago, and Monty couldn't turn it around. Bickerstaff's there, not even a full season, and Detroit's number 6 in the East right now. So it was one of those things where it worked out that you fired your coach, and he landed in a good spot, and now both teams are successful. But they still should have fired. I will always say Cleveland.
What do you do if the impression is, even from the players, that he's lost the locker room? Because that's not an extra
reason to lose it.
But that's the thing. The players
won more games. Each year he was there, they won more games.
I know. I'm not denying that. I'm saying all the rumors, all the vibes from the player, everything was hinting at he lost the locker room. I'm not saying for right or wrong. I'm saying, what do you do if the players don't want to play hard for your coach anymore? Do you wipe out the whole roster of 15 players, or do you get rid of one guy? What do you do?
So this is what I do. Those players need to answer to why he lost the locker room. Tell us why the locker room was lost. Tell us what he did wrong. We don't know anything that he did wrong because on paper he did everything right. Now,
How often do all people come out and specifically point the finger at one guy and say public? I know they should. I'm saying in the NBA or in sports, how often do you hear someone come straight out and be like, that guy yelled at me too much, and so now I don't want to. But you know what I mean? People don't put their laundry out like
Now
that,
they don't.
especially where they call out people by name, unless you're who's Milwaukee's coach? I'm blanking on his name right now. Doc Rivers. Unless you're Doc Rivers pointing at Ben Simmons, no one calls someone out by their name and be like, "No, I can't win with them." Nobody says that.
This is what I'm saying. Years ago, if a coach had a problem with a player, or a player had a problem with a coach, it was public. Years ago. If he would have went to Cleveland and was below 500 every year, didn't make the playoffs every year, after 3-4 years, you get rid of him. He was there for, I believe, 3.5 to 4 years. Each year, he upped his win total. Each year, they got better in playoff standings, and you still fire him. That's where the organization has to have a backbone and say, we're not doing this. The players need to get this shit together. Now, Kenny,
we're in a league where they've empowered the stars. So when you jump through hoops to bring Donovan Mitchell there, and the rumor is Donovan Mitchell doesn't like the coach, you think the front office is going to go back and say, oh, we shouldn't have brought Donovan Mitchell here because he doesn't like the coach? And that's part of why we're winning, is that we have Mitchell. So now you're looking at, are you saying the coach is all the success, or are you saying part of it is Donovan Mitchell is the success and he doesn't like that coach? And then the vibes spread to where now every player doesn't like that coach. What do you do?
The Cleveland Cavaliers, this is year 1 under Kenny. If they don't win the championship in year 3, he needs to be fired. Be damn the record. Be damn the record, because we know records don't matter now. He needs to be fired in 3 years.
They came back to beat Boston the other night after all that. After people talking shit about them not beating anybody.
They did, but they've beaten people. Don't get me wrong, but
they haven't beaten like the top 5-10 teams. They haven't beaten like the top few teams in the league like all season, except for the other night against Boston.
I just think that. Remember, I started this off by saying Cleveland's not going.
I know it's the Knicks. I was thinking of. My bad.
Okay, no, you're good. And we actually Miami plays the Knicks today, so I can't wait on that. What was that for?
It'll be a beat down.
Are you sure about that?
No. Hopefully, he can hit some shots for you in the fourth.
We don't need him, bro. We got other pieces now.
That's your go-to guy.
No, our team's not predicated on one guy. We had one guy.
Go-to guy is the key word there, and Hero is your go-to guy. That's who gets the ball with the final play in his hands.
One guy in the fourth quarter who we could give the ball to and get us a bucket, and it wasn't Tyler Hero. Okay,
it is now.
No, it's not. With that said, Tyler plays great through 3 quarters, and he disappears in the fourth quarter. Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
With that said, no, it's going to be a good game against the Knicks today. But to get back to Cleveland and Detroit, I'm happy that Detroit's winning right now. I just don't think they're going to hold up to that, hold that number 6 spot now. I don't believe they are. And I can even see whether we beat the Pacers tonight. I can even see where the Pacers can kind of drop a little bit. So what I'm saying is Miami's going to be in the top 6 by the end of the season. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. The Los Angeles Lakers, we're going to wrap it up with this, are number 3 now in the Western Conference. Their last 10 games, they are 8-2. Okay. Luka's been there for like 7 or 8 of those last 10 games.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is the move that could put the Lakers over the top to win a championship this season?
Anything is possible with Luka, I think, right now. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not giving JJ Redick any credit because me and you can go out there and coach the Lakers with LeBron and Luka on the same team.
That Luka trade, it's not like they were bottom of the barrel, but that Luka trade really saved his reputation for this season.
Right.
That's gonna go down as one of the worst trades in sports history. Yeah. All it takes is getting hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers have the right personnel to technically win if things go the right way. They proved the other night their biggest problem the last few years has been getting past Denver.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Denver the other night with a huge Luka game. If Luka can go ham, like he's shown to do, if he can stay healthy enough in the playoffs, I will not count Luka and the Lakers out of anything. So, with the way the last 5 years have went with teams winning championships, absolutely the Lakers do have a shot to win a championship this year. I wouldn't pick them as my favorites, but they definitely have a shot.
I'll end it with this. They're not going to be the number 1 team in the West. They still have a shot to be number 2. They're still, 1 game behind Denver. If the Lakers get the number 2 seed, that's when you're going to see shenanigans. So I'm saying, if the NBA could justify the Lakers getting to the NBA Finals, which shenanigans is going to happen, you're going to see LA and you're going to see Boston in the NBA Finals. You're just going to see it. They're going to look every fucking trick that the NBA has used for 40 years. You're going to see it this playoff run. So now, not only do you have Tatum and LeBron in the finals, now you have Luka back in the NBA Finals.
NBA is going to try to get Lakers Boston, and they're going to get screwed and get Denver Cavs, and then be disappointed.
The script, I don't necessarily believe in the script, but the script is going to be Luka and LeBron versus Tatum and Brown. I'll tell you, bruh, it'll be the highest ratings we've had in 20 years.
In a while, yeah.
I'll tell you, it's going to be shenanigans. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Hardwood Nation podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share our content. Drop comments below. We always respond unless it's Big Pat blowing us up. Everyone stay safe. We are out.
Yeah.